Ooh, it took a while. Hello. There it is. Okay, today is stretch and strength. So a little bit of lengthening, getting long, and a little bit of strength, kind of the halfway class. We are going to focus on the theme, truth. So satya, truth, throughout this week. So this class, we're going to think about truth and poses and how truth can be many different things. So the truth of a pose can be one way, it can be another way, and trying to let go of the idea of it being a perfect truth. So trying to let go of the concept of this is the right way and the only way, and having an idea of possibilities of different versions of truths, different ways of being in a pose, and extending that out into our lives. Different ways of being able to understand other people's truth might be very different than your own. So we're going to start down on our backs. So land on your back, however is comfortable, feet down, knees up, or full corpse pose, however you feel comfortable. We're going to start to ground. So start to feel your hips on the ground, your shoulders on the ground. Maybe give your head a little side to side. Feel the softness in your neck. Check in on the face, the muscles of the face, and look for any tension in the face. Maybe imagining some fresh breath coming across the muscles of the face. So thinking about the fact that our breath is bringing in fresh energy and sweeping away what we no longer need. Think about that process intentionally happening over your face. So breathing in fresh energy across all the muscles of the face, letting the face soften. And with the exhale, sweeping away some of that tension, especially around common holding points in the face, where the upper and lower jaw meet, corners of the eyes, middle of the forehead. Maybe even around the lips. Some people hold a lot of tension in around your lips. Check in on your teeth. Notice where your teeth are. Are you holding your teeth tight, or is your mouth nice and soft? And then making a little promise to yourself to remain on the mat. So meaning staying in your body and trying to have an experience in the physical layer, energetic layer of the body. Noticing when the mind is pulling us off the mat and gently bringing it back. Making a little promise to yourself. And then we're just going to practice nice, slow breath. So we're going to breathe in fully and breathe out fully. Just starting to notice our breath. So really, you can bring your hands to your torso if that helps you focus, and you can talk yourself through it. I am breathing in, then I am very slowly breathing out. Notice how that feels, and then if you'd like to experiment with the even pauses, you're going to breathe in fully, add a teeny gentle pause, breathe out fully, and add another gentle pause. And it's important that the pauses are gentle. We don't hold the breath until we're restricted and fighting ourselves, just a gentle pause. And then let all focus of your breath soften away and just notice how you feel. How do you feel physically, energetically, emotionally? And how does the state of your mind feel? How are your thoughts today? We're going to work on a lot of twists today. So we're just going to start to wake up the hips. So if your feet are not already on the ground, bring your feet to the ground, knees up, and just start to sway the knees side to side, nice and slow. Just starting to feel hips moving side to side. Start to keep the shoulders on the ground and really let the knees drop over. Start to feel lengthening from the armpit down to the hip. So really starting to let your body move, opening up a little. And then bring your knees up center and ground down. So really make sure your shoulders and rib cage are on the ground. Start here and then let your knees slowly fall over to the right without your shoulders popping off. So notice where they land. And then you're going to let your left foot come up. So move over slowly, slowly, slowly so that you can get more space. And maybe the knees are going to come over and closer to the ground on the right side. What you really want to think about is finding more space down that left side and a little twisting in the torso. So watch for this movement coming from the low back. Here's the truth of this pose. We're trying to find length down the side body. And we're trying to find a little twisty compression in the torso, a little bit right in that solar plexus area, but not so much that we feel like we're starving ourselves of breath. We're not tense. And your head can be wherever your head is comfortable, your shoulders grounded. Maybe you want to pick up this left leg and start to see if you can straighten it, make it a little heavier, make a little more space across that left side body. Keep that nice, long, slow breath. And then check in again. Where are you feeling this pose? So for this pose, in this moment, we're trying to find our focus along the side body and a little squish in the solar plexus. Notice if you're feeling it somewhere else, especially check in on the sacrum and the low back. And then if you straighten the left leg, bend the knee and slowly peel the knees back up to center. Take a little side sway. Notice left and right sides. Nice and slow and gentle. Trying to really feel the body. So maybe the rib cage on the left side feels a little more open than the right. Leaving the shoulders nice and grounded. Maybe even bringing the palms up so you really notice your shoulders are on the ground, rib cage is on the ground. Slowly let the knees come over to the left this time. Let them land, notice where they land, and then maybe wiggle the right foot a little bit more over to the left side. Slow, gentle movement. Really thinking about space all the way from the armpit to the hip on the right side this time. Check in on the neck, see how the neck feels. Try and keep a soft neck. And maybe you can pick up the right leg and send it towards straight, make it a little heavier. And then slowly, knees back to center, feet down on the ground, little shuffle of the knees. Start to feel the low back, really feel what is present in your low back, in your hips, wiggle your toes. And then take the feet long, so legs long, point the toes, reach the arms up overhead. Stretch from the fingertips to the toes. And then thinking about side body again, we're going to tilt the shoulders and the arms a little bit over to the right, and then wiggle the feet over to the right, making a big banana shape on the ground, and really thinking about breathing into the left side body. So imagine you could just gently send your breath in between each rib cage, really opening up that left side. And then we're thinking about the left side body. So check in other places where you might be gripping. Notice your neck, your face. Slowly bring the feet and torso back through center and over to the other side. So big banana shape towards the left this time. Breathing into right side body. And slowly back to center and bring the knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a little hug. Curl up. Maybe even rock it side to side. And then we're going to roll on over to the side and come to tabletop. So moving and breathing in our tabletop position. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale towards child. So we're going to start, inhale forward, exhale backward. We're going to try and feel our arms and shoulders. So focusing on our arms, wrists, and shoulders. Start to notice if when you come forward and you're not paying attention to your shoulders, you're kind of doing this sinking thing in between your shoulders. Kind of moving forward, sinking forward. Notice this. See if you can bring a little more attention to the muscles of your chest and a little strength. So you're pulling yourself up out of your wrists rather than landing right in the wrist joint. Thinking lots about our arms and shoulders. And then maybe trying, inhale forward, coming a little bit over to the left side. Exhale back, inhale a little bit over to the right. So a little more weight on the right side. See if you can retain strength in your arms while you're doing this. So adjusting the movement, adjusting the shape, and feeling how going straight forward feels one way, and going a little bit over to the right, and a little bit over to the left feels different. Uses a slightly different muscle pattern. And then slowly make your way up to down dog and warm up your down dog in whatever way feels right for you. Taking little side sways of the hips, pedaling the legs, finding your down dog shape and warming it up. And breathe. Take the tension out of the neck, lift the hips. And then we're going to experience our shoulders again. So, different truths of the same pose, trying to find different shapes. So we're going to wiggle our hands out a little bit wider, maybe about as wide as your mat. And then go back to a regular down dog shape. So feeling down dog with your arms wider. Really check in and notice how this feels. And then slowly bring your hands in so that your hands are touching. So hands are touching nice and close. Try to make a down dog shape. So maybe there's not so much room for your head. Changes the pose entirely. And then move the hands to where your hands are typically. And experience down dog. And think about maybe what it is you like about this position. What feels pleasant in this position that makes you choose this position over any other position for your hands? Try to think about the physical experience of the pose. And we're slowly going to lift the right leg high. Reach it long to the ceiling, three-legged dog. Keep the leg really strong and active. And we're going to take little tiny, tiny, tiny circles with the legs. So small as you can, controlled circles. So your base, your arms and your other leg are not moving. Your back's not moving. We're just moving the leg, and then reverse the circles. Notice what's happening to your breath. Notice the muscles in your face and your neck. And then inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, step through low lunge. And we're going to play in low lunge. So if you have your blocks, have your blocks. You're going to play with the low lunge shape. So you're going to sink through as low as you can into the left hip. Experience that. And then you're going to lift and keep the muscles of the left leg strong. Pull the hip back up, press into the right leg. Experience that. So we're pulling up from the heel. Lower the left hip nice and slow. Kind of get looser in that left leg. See how that feels. And then pull up from the right leg. Activate the left leg. So really send the energy down through the back left heel. Feel. And then keeping your left hand down. So you can keep your left hand on the ground or using your block. Left hand down on the ground. Reach the right arm up. We're going to go into an easy twist, and we're going to do it two ways. So first way, we're going to think about freezing the hips. Nothing moving in the legs. Reaching this right arm long, and then twisting from the solar plexus open to the right side. Hold and breathe. Watch for sinking into this left shoulder, so really pull up with the right arm, get nice and strong. And then bring it back down, regular, low lunge. Sink a little more into the hips. See if you can move the right knee a little bit more over to the right. And then we're going to turn, this time, from this left hip, turn. So turn open. You can use the arm to guide you. Notice that this feels much more in the right hip, less in the torso. Bring it back to low lunge. And then pick the one that you prefer. Ready? Lengthen and twist to whichever way, either up or from the hip, lowering, feeling it more in the hip. Back to low lunge. We're going to slowly frame out the front foot. Step back, down dog. Find your down dog, breathe. And notice left and right sides. Slowly lift left leg. Nice and strong in the left leg. Little teeny tiny circles. So see how small you can make the circle. And then reverse the direction. And then step through low lunge and play time for our low lunge. So finding your low lunge, letting your hip sink through. So low, right hip sinks down towards the ground. Right leg is kind of soft, not as strong. And then press into the left leg. Pull up from the heel. Activate the back leg and send the heel back towards behind you. Get nice and strong in both legs. Feel the difference. Same pose, different way to think about it. Notice. Sink and lower the hip, kind of hang out. Left, right leg not so strong. And then pull up. Send the right heel back. Notice. Nice and strong in both legs. Really long in the torso. Right hand down. Left hand reaches long. And then twisting from the solar plexus, right between the rib cage, turn open. Breathe and hold. And then bring it back to low lunge. And then we're gonna let that right hip drop down. Left knee is gonna open a little more, and this time we're gonna twist from the hip space. So turning and opening, just trying to feel it a little more in that right hip. You can reach with the left arm. If you're not feeling it in the right hip, you can press down a little more into the left heel, make that left leg a little more active. Breathe. Back to low lunge. And then for the next one, pick the one you preferred. So either twisting and feeling it a little more in the glute or twisting from the rib cage. Notice which one you prefer and feel it. Rather than thinking about right or wrong, maybe today this just feels right for you. Breathe. And then bring it back. Frame out the front foot. Step back, down dog. Notice or think about as you're hanging out in down dog, did you pick the same twist for both sides of your body? And think about why that might be. We tend to treat our body as if it's supposed to be exactly even though we do not use it evenly throughout our day. Bend the knees, look at your hands, and either float or step forward so your feet are under your hips, forward fold. Let the tension come out of your head and your neck. Option to let your torso find the tops of your thighs with a little bend in the knees and take your hands backwards. You can reach for hands and clasp and let your shoulders open, or you can just take your hands backwards and reach up. Breathe. And then letting go of your hands, deep bend in your knees. Inhale as you rise all the way up, arms overhead. And exhale, prayer to heart. Start to move with your breath, inhaling up. And exhale, prayer to heart. And if you like, you can stay with this, connecting with your breath, just feeling your arms moving. We're a little bit of a change up today. We're gonna soft bend in the knees, press the hips forward. Inhale up, teeny back bend. Exhale, bring it back to neutral. Inhale up, open, push hips forward. And exhale, bring it down. Nice and slow and gentle. See what is present in the low back, in the hips, having an experience. And then bring it down to mountain pose with hands of prayer. Wiggle the toes. Find your mountain pose. We're going to bring the weight onto the right leg and bring the left leg forward. Feel the top of the left leg. We're going to pull the left knee up and press the left heel down. Hands can remain at the hips or you can pull with your hands. So inhale up, press down with the exhale. Notice if you're gripping with the right toes. Try to keep a soft bend in the right leg. Try to keep this left leg really strong and powerful. And then pull it up, send the right leg past the left, and step back, pyramid pose. So soft gap between the legs, hips forward. So not full length, not as far as you can go. Find a comfortable position for your knees and ankles. So make sure you're comfortable first, and then forward fold. Hold here. Try to have an experience with your torso not pus neutral. So all the way down, you're definitely going to have a different experience, but try to have an experience up here. So torso up, taking it out of the low back, trying to feel the lower legs, back of both legs. If you cannot feel it, shift the weight. So shift the way that you're activating your legs. Maybe feel like you're pulling that right heel back towards the left. Start to activate the leg a little more. From here, we're going to do a little bit of that torso twisting from the rib cage. So arms out makes it a little bit more difficult. We're going to inhale neutral, exhale, take left shoulder towards the right. So twisting and turning from the rib cage. Inhale neutral, exhale twist. Trying to keep the legs locked. So legs are strong, not moving through the hips. See how this feels. Bring it back to center. Slowly bring the torso up, hands to prayer. We're going to step forward through warrior three. So balance, get long. Send the left leg longer, make it stronger. Bend the back knee. Slowly bring that knee back to where we came. So knee forward, legs strong. And then we're going to cross left ankle over right knee. Hold here, both legs strong. Maybe sink your hips a little. Hold. And if you want to go even further in the challenge, arms out, twist right shoulder towards left knee. So really twisting and balancing. Breathe. Slowly, woo, back to neutral.
You flew.
Step it out, tap out your feet. So when there are other people in the room, it's even more challenging to hold your balance. Inhale up, exhale, prayer to heart. This time when we pull our prayer down to heart, take a little pause and notice left and right sides. So we worked one side. Good time to check in and notice what is different. And then wait onto the left leg. Bring the right leg forward, knee bent. Nice strong leg. Inhale, draw up. Exhale, press down. If you like, and you feel like getting rid of some excess energy, you can pump this up into fire breath. So bringing it up. Or you can keep it nice and slow, holding your balance. Bring your knee up, send the right knee past the left. Step back, not to a full lunge shape, pyramid legs. So both legs, both hips facing forward, legs straight-ish, not locked in the knee. And then come forward a little with the torso. So hold it active and strong, not folding all the way forward. Feel the pose. Find the backs of both legs. See if you can feel it all the way up to this left hip. Imagine you could get longer, longer, longer between each vertebrae in your spine. And then we inhale neutral, arms out. They can stay at your hips if this is too much. And then right shoulder goes towards left knee. So inhale, open. Exhale, twist. Trying to keep your base strong, so legs are strong. Moving from the rib cage. Bring it back to neutral. And then come through warrior three. So slowly pop up that right leg. Get really, really, really long in the right leg, long in the torso. Bend the back knee, slowly come on up. Knee forward, hold. Think about longer, longer, longer in the torso. Left, right knee, right ankle just above left knee. And then maybe sit. Woo. Find your focus, find your breath. Lower your hips. And the challenge is to take your arms out and take left shoulder towards right knee. So twisting. Breathe and hold. Slowly come through center. And then bring it down. Tap it out. This time we're going to do washing machine, left and right. So let your hands tap left and right sides. Like you're swishing out your space. Let go. And then come back to mountain pose. And we did two sides, so check in again. Notice if left and right sides still feel different. Inhale, prayer up overhead. Exhale, swan dive it down. Step back for plank pose. And then lower down all the way to crocodile. Shimmy the hips. Let go. From here, we're going to take a little twist. So we're going to take the right heel towards the ceiling. And we're going to let the right heel come up, over, and past the left leg. So we're trying to feel a little bit of twisting through the torso. Let that heel come over. Maybe you can get it come all the way over. But watch for too much lifting of the right shoulder. Slowly back through neutral. And then over to the other side. Left leg comes up and over. Take it past the left leg. So feeling lengthening across that left side body. A little twist through the torso. And then all the way back down. Take both heels to the ceiling and take a slow side to side. Windshield wiper the legs. Let go. And then a little twisting through the upper back, nice and soft. So we're going to come on up, lifting our shoulders, and then we're going to turn and look at a foot. Let the other shoulder come towards midline. Inhale, center. Exhale, turn and look at the other foot. Let the other shoulder drop. Couple of ways to do this depending on your own holding patterns. Maybe you do not let the shoulder drop, but you just turn and look and let the shoulder move in another way. So starting to have your own experience. What feels right? What are your own holding patterns in your upper back and shoulders? Really thinking about feeling your own shoulders, your neck, your upper back, and moving in a way that feels right for your own body shape, your own holding patterns. And then bring it back through neutral and all the way back to child's pose. So take a child's pose, resting in whatever shape feels right for you. Knees together, knees wide, hands together, hands down. Pick a shape that feels comforting to you. So taking a little pause in a comforting pose. And if this pose doesn't feel comforting to you, noticing why that might be. So those certain poses we come to for a certain reason in class, it's not always the experience you have. And it's not that that experience that you're having is wrong. It is that it's giving you an opportunity to look at why that might be. The truth of the practice is to attempt some things to spark an exploration within your own body and existence. And if you have an ideal pose and you judge yourself for not getting to it, this is one of the best experiences to have, because the more that that little inner critic comes up, the more that you get to know it and the more that you can get rid of it. Let it go. So we're going to pick one of the poses that's very common. We're going to come up to down dog, nice and slow. Feel your down dog. We're going to feel triangle pose in some different ways. So we're going to lift the right leg, step it through, lower the back leg. Begin with warrior two. So just come on up to warrior two. And then we're going to straighten up this front leg. So think about triangle pose. And rather than looking at us, maybe even close your eyes, go to triangle pose however you normally go to it. So find a triangle pose, come on down. Maybe you get all the way down to the ground. Maybe that's your goal. Maybe this is where you hang out. So when you get here, maybe you have a block that you reach for too. When you get here and you're hanging out, without looking at me, without thinking, do a body scan. So how are your feet? How are your toes? How are your knees? Any knees locked? Any knees feel like they're tight? How is the low back and the hips? So feel this pose, experience this pose. And then we're going to go into this pose with intention. So lift on back up. Take a break into warrior two. So reset your pose. Find your warrior two. Scoop up, find reverse warrior. Both legs active. Left knee not locked. See if you can find strong legs, soft toes, soft face. And then send the right leg towards straight. Check your pose. Do you feel super balanced with your legs where they are? And if not, maybe pop this front leg a little bit closer to the back leg. Look at your feet. Are your feet and knees and ankles comfortable in this pose? Maybe you need to adjust for your own hip shape, your foot a little. So start with your base. And then get really, 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 really long in the torso. So nice and long in the spine. And rather than tipping from that center point in our back or sacrum, our attachment point of our spine, we're going to think about moving through from the shoulders. So leaning from the shoulder, slow, 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 keeping the hips where they are, thinking about that length in the torso we were thinking about earlier. Then lean over, then reach the right hand. So thinking about this pose being not only an experience of the legs being strong, we're going to think about lifting and reaching. So we're pulling in one direction and we're pushing in another. So pushing and pulling. Have an experience of your rib cage moving this way. Feel it. Push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. And then find the space where you can hold nice and strong and comfortable and have an experience of opposites. So you're reaching down and you're pulling up. Feel how this feels like an entirely different pose. Scoop it up, reverse triangle. And then we're going to twist our triangle. So bring the torso back to neutral. Make sure your legs are solid. So knees and ankles are not locked, not pulling. Right hand reaches forward and we tilt just a little forward. And then we're going to twist from the rib cage. So bring that left shoulder over. Reach the left hand forward. Right hand can tuck onto the hip. It can reach backwards, whatever is comfortable. Press forward in the torso. Take the twist in the torso. Check in on that sacrum. See if you're taking the twist into the back. If you're feeling it in the low back, begin again. Come up. Twist. Reach from the torso. Twist from in between the ribs. Reach left. Twist your triangle. Breathe. And then back. Reverse your triangle. From here, we're just going to switch our feet and have the experience on the other side. So switch to the other way. Find your warrior two pose first. So a lot of people come to triangle from warrior two, but a lot of people's triangle is not as comfortable when we're in warrior two legs. So feel your base, feel your feet, your knees, your ankles, your hips. And then straighten up that front leg and see if this truly is the most comfortable. Maybe you need to shorten your stance a little. Close your eyes and flop into whatever triangle you are used to taking and have an experience. Just see how it feels. So fold over. Maybe you reach an arm. Maybe you tuck the arm behind you. Maybe you have a goal of getting all the way to the ground. Just feel. Have an experience and breathe. Slowly bring yourself up. Back into a warrior two. Maybe you shuffle the feet. Reset. And then we're going to talk you through another experience in triangle. So come up to your base. Really long in the torso, strong in the legs, not locked knees. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Think about sending that left shoulder over without moving the hips. Over, over, over. Reach the left hand. And then pull with the right hand. And then have that push-pull. Move the rib cage around. Experience pushing and pulling. Watch for holding patterns in your neck. And then open up. Spread, spread, spread. Reach. Open torso. Breathe. Slowly reverse your triangle. And then we're going to twist it. So bring the torso to neutral. Left hand reaches forward. So left shoulder reaches forward. And then you twist from the rib cage. Bring the right shoulder round. Left hand can tip onto the hip. Maybe you can reach a little longer. Breathe. And then slowly come up neutral and reverse your triangle. We're going to frame out the front foot. Step back, high plank. Lower the knees, child's pose. Find your breath. Slowly come through seated and then make your way down to your back. So go slow, make your way down onto your back. You're gonna find your hips on the ground, your shoulders on the ground. You're gonna give as many wiggles as you possibly can as you start to settle in. So start to do a body scan. Start at your feet. Think about your toes, wiggle your toes. So we're sending our awareness around our body intentionally. Think about your toes, wiggle your toes. Think about your ankles. Think about your knees. Some of these poses that we did were kind of intense on the knees and the ankles. So check in. Notice what's present. Notice any tension, anything that you might be feeling around these places. Notice your hips. Notice the shoulders, the neck. And then before you go too deeply into resting, so give another little wiggle. Give a wiggle of the legs and the hips. Give a wiggle of the head. And then we're going to think. So when we had those two experiences of triangle pose, did we decide one was right and one was wrong? Did we judge how we did one? Did we find one way confusing and judge ourselves for feeling confused as we moved into that pose? There are no right or wrong answers, just experiences and inquiries. So there are many ways to do many poses and many reasons to do many poses. Sometimes you do a pose to get strong. Sometimes you do a pose to lengthen a particular muscle group. Sometimes you do a pose entirely for nothing physical. Sometimes you do a very flashy and advanced pose to get to know the ego on the way. So we choose a pose that's really difficult. Perhaps it's an arm balance or something that we saw that looks really neat and interesting, and we do it only because we want the goal. We want to learn what it takes to achieve the goal. We want to learn what happens along the way, what we judge ourselves, and how we get to that way, that pose. And then we want to know what it feels like when the ego is the one running the show, because when we know what that feels like, we can be less controlled by the ego in our day-to-day life. So when we know what the ego feels like and when it's running the show and how we feel, so we get to this beautiful expressive pose, we have thoughts and feelings and we know how that is. So that when we are moving through our life, and the ego is doing some things that perhaps are not in line with how we really want to be, our truest level of ourselves, we might catch it a little sooner. So some of us struggle with the ego running the show, and some of us struggle with the ego running the show in a different way. So in that negative way, that mean way, that judgy way, judging ourselves as we go. So we experienced a pose in two different ways. Think about how that felt. Think about what that brought up for you. And notice, just notice the experience within yourself. And I picked a card today that is pretty in line with inner truth. So these are the Hawaiian healing cards. Loyalty to self. There is nothing more constant and loyal than your connection with nature, your higher self. Betrayal occurs when you fail to listen to your inner knowing. It occurs when you give your power away to others who are not in alignment with your deepest truth. By honoring yourself with steadfast clarity, you cultivate that true loyalty to self. So these cards come with a suggestion for an intention to carry with you throughout the day. My intention is to be loyal to myself, to listen deeply to my inner knowing, and never surrender my happiness to another person. So today's practice as we go into meditation is perhaps see some of the thoughts that came up or the feelings that came up within the practice today. And notice if the thoughts were perhaps not productive, not useful, not in line with your inner truth. And perhaps thinking about another way that you could address those feelings or rephrase those thoughts that might be more in line with where you would like to go, where you would like to travel with your innermost truth. So perhaps if we judged our body and we said, oh, my body just doesn't do this, why doesn't it do this? And we had some of these like negative spiraling thoughts, we could say, I experienced judgment. And then maybe we could start to think about, I let go of judgment. I let go of judgment. Or I allow myself to be me. Something different, changing the thought and perhaps repeating it to yourself. And every time the thoughts pull you away, drag you somewhere else, just gently returning to what might be helpful to your innermost self, to guide you back to your inner's truth, your essential nature, your bliss layer. And then before coming back too much from this state of rest, think about your bliss center being the center of your chest, your innermost self, your spirit being housed right in the center of your chest. And if you had an intention, a sentence, something you were working with, see yourself planting it here. If you're a more visual person, maybe you just imagine planting a little seed here, as if you know it's going to take root and grow. So maybe just visualize planting a seed here. Maybe whispering it softly inside your head. Say it with a loving kindness, softness, and caring in your voice. So take away that harsh way that we talk to ourselves. Speak to yourself the way you would to a loved one, because you are a loved one and you should be a loved one. You are worthy. And then slowly returning to having a little bit of a physical experience, wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingertips. And then return to that arms overhead, feet long, stretching the entire front lying body. Reach, 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 reach. Reach long, long. Activate all of the muscles, as many as you can find, maybe even squishing the muscles of the face. Start to really wake up the physical body. And take a really deep breath in and squeeze everything tighter, tighter, tighter. And with the exhale, sigh out of the mouth and soften again. And then we're going to do that all again, and we're going to think about tension. We're going to think about the things that we hold on to and we grip, familiar memories, familiar patterns, things that are not helpful. And we're going to imagine tensing around them. So squeeze it tight, squeeze, tight, tight, tight. Squeeze all that tension back into yourself. Think about it, connect with it, feel it, and then imagine with the sigh out of the mouth, letting some of it drop. So being ready to let it go to the ground. And then slowly bringing the knees in toward the chest and curling up in a fetal position. Wrapping up in a little ball on whatever side is calling to you and taking a moment to let everything really drop to the ground. Let go of what you're ready to let go of. Let go of what no longer serves you. And then slowly come on up to a seated position with your hands at prayer. And then bring your hands to lotus shape. So opening up your hands, fingertips open, right at your heart space. So imagine you're going to fill up your lotus cup with that intention, your truth vow, your vow to your truest self. Fill it up. Imagine your cup full. And then send it up above your head as if imagining sending it out into the world to shine and allow your arms to open up and expand and soften down to your lap. And imagine shining from your heart space. So imagine all of that sensation of worthiness and compassion for ourselves and our truest nature, our essential selves. Imagine that is now shining forward and out into the world, into the lives of the people that we know. Sharing from our heart space, compassion, kindness, allowing our shoulders to soften open, our chest to soften open. And then hands of prayer at heart space. And then hands of prayer to the middle of your forehead. Bow and acknowledge your innermost truth and the innermost truth of others. May all beings be peaceful and at ease.